Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. A very warm welcome to our online summit, Shared Future 3.0. I am Priyanka from Shared Pro. Shared Pro helps companies avoid layoff with its talent mobility platform. Shared Future 3.0 is here to equip you with knowledge and strategies to bounce back stronger in these tough times of down market. We have an amazing lineup of speakers with us today who will be sharing their experience and expertise on the topic value of agility, embracing adaptability and flexibility in a down market. Also, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. I'm super delighted to welcome our first panelist, Mr. Mahesh Joshi. He is CHRO at Honeywell Automations. With over 20 plus years of experience in HR and CNB function, he excels in driving organizational performance, building competitive workforce, and leading strategic HR initiatives. Next up, I would like to welcome our second panelist, Ms. Nidhi Sharma. She is Director HR at Dentsu with 19 plus years of experience in global HR and strategic leadership. Not only she excels in HR role, but she also loves to adore Mother Nature. Next up, I would like to welcome our third panelist, Mr. Anand Dhruv. He is Associate Director HR at Entity Limited. With over 2 decades of experience in HR and leadership, he even runs an NGO towards upliftment of underprivileged segments. Lastly, the session will be moderated by Madhusudan. He is a HR leader at Hogarth, a HR leader with extensive experience in diverse backgrounds of IT, advertisement, and retail. But did you know he mentioned that if not into HR, he would have been into politics. In fact, I have a suggestive slogan that could be from HR to politics, from managing people to managing nation. Now, I would like to hand over the session to our moderator, Mr. Madhu. Thank you, sir.
Hey, thanks a lot, Priyanka. Thanks a lot for the intros. That makes my role easier. We can move straight to the topic of today, right? And thank you, Shadpro, for this timely session. Good evening, everyone. Hi, Anand. Hi, Mahesh. Hi, Nidhi. Thank you for joining me today to share your insights. As agreed, we move straight to the questions. But before we move to the questions, Nidhi, if you could start with you. As a HR professional from an industry that is in direct connect with the consumers, right? Can you share your views on the topic that we are discussing today, and what does it mean to your industry specifically?
Okay, so thanks, Madhu, for a wonderful question that you have put in across. And this really is relating to the current scenario which is going on, right? It's a tough phase, and I'm sure we all will be passing through this phase as we have done, in the earlier world. Now, agility and embracing the flexibility and adaptability as a competitive advantage, specifically in the down market, specifically in the market in the era that we are in today. Understand this. Change is happening. Change is going to happen. You cannot stop it. It will happen at its own pace. What matters is, are you prepared for that change? Are you prepared for the speed with which that change is going to come? That's really, really important. And from the industry that I come in, which is a technology industry, I belong to an IT industry all 19 years plus, working in the same industry all through. I think a few months back, I was at a campus and I was talking to some of the students there and talking about the talent market in India by 2030. And that's where it was a metaverse, which was a high, talk of the town that was happening. Today, it's a chat GPT, everyone is kind of talking about. So, and everybody is threatened, in terms of, oh, this is a chat GPT coming, where are our jobs going to be? AI is just going to take off our jobs. I mean, this is just one thing as a change that has come up. There will be 1,000 more things that are going to come our way. That just doesn't mean that it is going to take our jobs, but then are we prepared for the change? Are we skilled enough for that change? And this agility, this flexibility to adopt to the changes which are happening in the current market, let it be a technology, let it be your automation, let it be your whatever industry, your technology, or whatever industry you talk of today, healthcare and anything you talk of today, this change is going to happen, and it is on us. How do we embrace that change, and with what flexibility are we adopting it? So that's my view to start on with.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Nidhi. That is useful. Anand, would you want to add your inputs to this?
Great. Thank you very much, Madhu and Priyanka, for the wonderful introduction. Thank you, Nidhi, for a wonderful start. And of course, thank you, Shetro, for bringing all of us on this platform and considering us worth to share our topic. With reference to the current subject, when I talk about agility, agility for me is a great combination of your ability, how flexible you are, and how quick you can adapt to the new environment. Nothing is constant and nobody is perfect. We all are lifelong students, and the learning journey continues till our last breath. I know so many people, irrespective of their ages, they do not hesitate and they are not shied away to go to an institute and get a proper education. That talks about their ability to learn. I know so many people who resist. There are so many examples in our corporate and our professional world where people did not agree to upgrade themselves. And today they do not exist. I don't want to name organizations on this public platform because since we are live, but there are so many examples which comes to my mind. They do not adapt to the change, they do not accept the change, and they did not upgrade themselves, and today we don't have. For example, I remember a career of a photographer who used to record using helicopters. This was one of the careers opportunity, and today we have machines and they do it live for all of us. So if you see, advancement, technology, upgradation is something which we all need to get adapt into, and the one who quickly adapts to it is what a right definition of agility for me, because everybody represents or interprets agility in their own way. So that's one aspect which I think, your skills, your learning, your ability, how flexible you are, definitely puts you up ahead in the competition. What takes you a long way in the competition is your ability to be at that particular stage and continuous, and that is possible only when you learn and only when you upgrade yourself. And that's the reason, as an organization, we spend a lot of money, not only money, but there's a lot of investment of time and efforts on upskilling, reskilling our employees, because there is something which is definitely going to help you to adapt to the upcoming future. At the same time, I'll pick up few points with Nidhi mentioned. Nothing can change the human touch in the organization. And since we all are HR professionals, we know we are actually the nerve system which passes the oxygen and blood to the top management and to the employees. So we are the change makers. We are somebody who are the sutradhars of the organization. At the same time, we are employees as well. So many a times, in the chase or in the run of doing something quickly, we miss the bus. Hence, whatever I mentioned so far, a right combination of everything definitely puts you up in the ladder, irrespective whether the market is down or the market is up. Because I always believe in two things. If you have the right attitude, skill, and knowledge, you are somebody who will be able to grow up the ladder. And secondly, if your work is good, no need to prove yourself. Your work automatically talks a lot about you within your organization and outside your organization. So these were my quick points which came to my mind when I was thinking about agility and the current environment. Thank you.
Adapting to constant change and constant learning, right? To summarize, thanks a lot, Anand, for those inputs, Nidhi. Very useful. A request to the audience, kindly type your questions in the chat box and we will answer them during the last part of today's session. Um, thank you. Let's move to the questions around today's topic. Mahesh, can I ask you to take the first question? Mahesh, you there? Okay, I think Mahesh may be having some technical challenges. So then let's move to.
I'm back with you.
Okay, perfect. You can hear us.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Give you the first question, Mahesh, and if you could share your insights in a down market, right? In a down market like today's situation, why is it essential for businesses and organizations to prioritize agility and flexibility? And how can these concepts contribute to a competitive advantage to organizations?
Okay, can I go? Is it fine?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you, Madhu. So first of all, thank you for having me here. And so I can see basically agility in two ways, being very honest, because I have seen various different organizations, and sometimes size of organization does matter a lot. Okay, because when you talked about agility and flexibility, for a smaller organization, it would be much easier to adopt to that change because of two reasons. Reason number one is that you can easily reach up to the last mile of the organization. So that is one. And second, very, very important is if you see the business environment for a smaller organization change very fast, but they would be able to adapt very fast because of the smaller operations that they need to manage. But the moment the size of organizations start increasing, the the multiple functions, the key owners, the responsibility of the stakeholders, multifold with the help of various touch points, or they need to reach out to multiple layers, which may not be at the same maturity level, because that is what going to make a lot of difference. We are basically talking about the changing business environment, and this is a very common example you must have seen everywhere in most of the Apple ads or Google ads, where they're talking about that first old technologies like telephone took 100 years, TV took 50 years, then all other mobile phones took 25 years to penetrate to the last mile. But today, if you see, Wi-Fi took 5 years, or rather you can say high-speed network today took 1 year. So the agility and the speed of technological change and all other business environment which is associated to that change is change very, very fast now. And nowadays, I think so the product shelf life of the technology is not more than 6 to 8 months. And that is where I think so the role of the HR really comes into the play, because now today we are all business HRs. We are not HR folks only for the sake of running the personal department, but we run the businesses. And that is where I think so agility comes very, very key, and along with the flexibility. And I would really keep it a little different from the business environment, because we generally, the way business change, I don't think so we are still changing that fast with the HR department or from the people standpoint, or for that matter, how we operate in the business. We are still a little away from that piece, but definitely that's my few thought that I generally see from the agility and the flexibility standpoint.
Thank you, Mahesh. That was insightful, adding your experiences while responding to the question. So that was great. Anand, is there anything that you think you would want to add to that question as
Sure.
inputs on?
Sure. So, one thing which comes to my mind when we talk about agility and flexibility, see, every angle or every discussion, the way we have two sides of the coin, on a similar ground, there are two sides. Neither it should be overdone, at the same time, neither it should be underdone. So I have seen many organizations in the name of agility and flexibility expect their employees to be very, very quick, and the way we say, the 2 minutes insta noodle sort of change. No, please try to understand, we are not dealing with machines. We're dealing with humans. And hence, as a parent, I always recommend my coaches, when they come and they tell me, my children are always glued to mobile phones. I say, they are just copying you. You are glued to your mobile phone and you are glued to your laptops. So you start the You start the habit of reading newspapers, reading books, and see they will also start reading books along with you. So when we talk about agility and flexibility, particularly in a down market sort of environment, yes, it gives you an competitive advantage from a flexibility and adaptation purview, but at the same time the drawback is we expect humans to behave like machines. So we need to be little sensitive, little empathetic, because we are dealing with hearts, we are dealing with humans, we are not dealing with machine. So this is something which immediately came to my mind when I was hearing to Mahesh as a part of his thoughts, and I thought I would love to add to what he said, of course, in a positive way. Thank you.
Thanks, Anand. I think that brings back an old story, right? Where people say the engineer's job is the toughest. You have to work on engine. You need to know the bolt nut. And then a doctor says, no, try doing that on a working heart. It is very difficult. Just put yourself as HR. You need to do that with humans. It's not just a heart. It's a mind heart. And ours is the toughest. And I think hands down, we would win that race if toughest profession, right? Let's move on to some HR related question. I think we'll move on to the question on in a down market like now. And Nidhi, this question is for you. What role does talent acquisition and retention play in maintaining a competitive edge for organizations? And are there any innovative approaches or technologies that can support organizations in this area?
Okay, so see, as far as now there was this one point which was raised very rightly. You are dealing with humans. It's when you're dealing with humans, it is important for us to understand the hiring and firing model which certain organizations kind of have. If you're not able to adapt to the change which is happening, if you're not ready for the kind of the agility which is required, you are not embracing the change, what's going to happen is your businesses are going to suffer. When your business is going to suffer, that is rightly and directly going to impact the people who are working with you, right? So that means the your HR functions like talent acquisition or talent management are the ones which directly get impacted at once. So, and the role that they are playing, for an example, for a talent acquisition, right? Talent acquisition teams should be the teams who should be aware of what is the kind of talent market they are hiring for, and internally within within the organization itself, before even I look outside, are there any people who I can cross skill, or I can look out for some IJPs, internal job promotions or something like that, so that my people internally get to change, they get those opportunities first before I even get out of the market, get out in the market and hire people. Which means you are literally saying that I am preparing my internal workforce first for the change, for the opportunities, for the upskilling. That's what I'm doing. On the talent management side of things, so see, it's like this. It's not just as it said, if you have to reskill or upskill, it's a learning and development thing which comes into picture. No, that's not just true. It is the entire talent management function which comes into picture, which means starting from your hiring to the person coming to the person's performance assessment, in terms of knowing their training needs, knowing their certification needs, and on to understanding how they are growing, defining their career paths, career progression. That's all a part of the talent management. If you are not doing that right in your organization, trust me, these changes, when they come in, when your markets, when your clients, your customers, they expect you to be working upon something which is a change. For an example, today a lot of people are talking about AI. Okay, AI is a buzz today, and you want to have people be just trained and just on working on AI, experienced AI professionals. You might not be getting them, but then at the same time, what's right to do is, are you kind of preparing your people not just on AI, but then can you think a little beyond and prepare your people on that? Second one is, as because our responsibilities as HRs is not just to manage the talent, which is a tenured talent or an experienced talent, hiring and keeping them in the organization, retaining the talent and doing that. No, a large chunk of us, when Anand, you were mentioning about the campuses and all of that, right? So one of the responsibilities for us is to ensure that the campus hiring that we do, the fresher hiring that we do, the budding talent that we get on board, they are the ones who, even before they are getting inside the organization, within their during their academics, we are telling them what is coming ahead. It's not just about today you're just learning a Java or something, some language, and you're done with it and you will be getting a placement. No, but then what ahead? What is it that you can expect when you are getting into an organization, or when you're picking up a domain, or you're picking up an organization or an industry? What is it that you can expect further for yourself? So they are ready, and when you are ready with that, you know
I think we lost
It
Nidhi.
seems, yeah, it seems. So Mahesh, if you allow, Madhu, if you allow, there are two, three thoughts which came to my mind while Nidhi joins in. So I'll pick up from what she mentioned. Definitely, today retention is the new recruitment. While we are focusing so much on our future talent and the other talent, at the same time, somewhere, I'm not saying we're doing it purposely, unconsciously, we are losing up the existing talent and we are not able to keep them engaged. So, what Nidhi was trying to say is how we are able to engage our employee, our talent in the organization is a key for the entire employee life cycle management. When I say employee life cycle management, Madhu, I'm not referring to only onboarding. The association starts even before onboarding, connecting with the employee, the candidates, converting them into the employees, and basis on the employee life cycle, we cannot have the same carrot at each level. I cannot treat you the way I'm treating you when you entered the organization versus now you are 20-year-old in the organization. Luckily, I come from an organization where I have many employees who are 15 plus, 20 plus year old in the organization. So obviously, I cannot have the same treatment all across the employee life cycle management. And the key word, the catch here is retaining, which because retention is the new recruitment. The more talented resources whom we let go or who are going, please remember there was huge investment not only from a time, efforts, but all the managers invested in that particular resource. The organization invested in that particular resource, and losing a talented resource is the biggest loss of every organization. And secondly, keeping them engaged throughout their tenure. Definitely, even a lesser pay retains the employee for a longer run. And as a part of the survey, I'm very, very happy to share that salary and money related aspects were third in the entire survey. What topped the chart is how their managers treat them, how the organization treats them, and the second was culture and the growth opportunities they have in the company. Because I always had this perception that people leave because of salary, and trust me, this particular survey changed my concept of why people leave the organization. So Nidhi is back. Sorry, Nidhi, since you were not there, I took the liberty to add on to. I had two, 3 points in my mind. Over to you, Nidhi, and Madhu back.
Thank you so much. I'm so sorry about that. I just, the laptop battery just went well. And that's again the change, I should have been ready with a charger to my laptop, and that would not have happened. So that's exactly the same thing that happens to the industry, and that happens with the people also. If you are getting people in your organization, please ensure that you are taking care of them, not just by the benefits and everything that you give them, but it's about the opportunities that you throw at them, at the same time carving their future, carving their career. How do you do that? It's about learning. And even if, so for an example, what happens is, you're hiring people, you're training them, and you're putting them onto projects, right? Deploying them onto projects or deploying them to work. But then at the same time, if there is something which is a different set of work which is altogether coming in, you have to ensure that the same set of people are equally available and are equally equipped with all the skills and all the talent that is required for adapting that change.
Thanks, Nidhi, and thank you, Anand, for stepping in and taking that. Right, Mahesh. Before I come to you, right, I would like to go back to an example of how quickly technology is changing and how it is impacting us. Things like something like COVID that was started in China, how it impacted our growth, our potential to grow. A war in Ukraine, how it impacted the global economy. Right. Today morning, we wake up to the news that Germany has moved to recession officially, right? These are examples of down market and how it impacts every one of us wherever they are, not just in those places, but people sitting across the globe, right? And it also impacts our talent, both the availability of talent and also the ability of organizations to hold back talent full time, right? India's demographic dividend that we keep talking about, with more than 60% of workforce that is available to work, should highly propel us to great growth over the next 3 decades. How ready are they, and what do organizations want? I think more than that, the point that Anand mentioned about what does the talent want, right? It's not just the new generation, but even the others. What we see as HR, we see that they're wanting to be more independent. They want to work project based or result based. Blend that with what organizations want, right? Organizations love if you can get talent on demand and also stay compliant, right? With that point, Mahesh, to you, how can organizations effectively tap into external talent pools during challenging economic times? What are the key considerations and best practices for successfully integrating external talent into our existing teams within organizations?
Sure. So thank you. I'll take a couple of minutes to explain a little bit in detail. So first of all, let's break this question into three pieces. Piece number one is the economic downturn. Okay. Now, when we say economic downturn, what do you mean by that? I'm sure you heard about animals getting into hibernation, right? They basically, before getting into hibernation, they eat a lot. They put a lot of fat on them. And when basically the time of hunting comes, they shred a lot of stuff. So ideally, it is nothing different than this, because when you are doing your business into a normal market scenario, you have to have some reserves, understanding, build your technologies, manpower in a such a way that it will not remain as it is forever. Because and then my experience is like, I worked with the companies which are like a century old. So if you say Honeywell is a more than century old and must have seen multiple weathers. Okay, same way with Abbott, what I worked where. So it's a multiple weather organizations. Here, I think so we learned how we need to face this kind of a situations. And that helped us a lot as far as the organizations are concerned. Now, if you see today, I would again go back in the mode where I don't want to retain everyone, because what companies have done in the COVID, they have basically slashed their headcount by 15, 20, 25%. They shut down their facilities by 15, 17, 20%. Why they did that? Because one is survival, and second is best way to have things with you. And that point in time, survival was more important. And after that, at least as an organization, all of us as a HR need to learn that as well. And we learned, and we are communicating that to people on almost everyday basis. Okay. And that's the something that we need to learn. And that is also part of agility and flexibility, because unless you accept that, adopt that, it would be very difficult to go back and communicate to people. So that is point number one. Point number two, when it comes to a talent, say acquisition, basically companies, at least in my experience, we that into three phases. Okay. First, in the CAD,
Mahesh, we are losing you, Mahesh. Okay, I think Mahesh has run into some technology. It looks like a technology challenging weekend,
but hear me
right?
now?
Yeah, he's back.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can't see you. Can you hear us, Mahesh?
Hello?
Are you able to hear us?
Hello? Can you hear me now? I can hear you.
Yes, Mahesh. We can't see you, but go ahead,
Yes.
Mahesh.
Can you
Please
hear me
go
now?
ahead. Yeah.
Oh, that's fine. I switched off my camera because you did mention that my voice is not clear. So I was saying that we generally split our talent needs into three formats. One, what I need today, what I need in a short term, and what I need in a long term. And accordingly, for short term, yes, the retention and buying strategy of acquisition would be more important. And for a long term, we generally take a route of training, or basically people talked about here. Nidhi spoke about skilling, reskilling, and upskilling. So it's the same strategy that we follow, but we generally break that for our organization need based on a business scenario. So that is point number one. That's called a market mapping, building and buying strategy that we generally follow every quarter, and we revisit that strategy on a quarterly basis. When it comes to retention, we don't retain everybody. To be frank, we are very clear that what kind of a talent that we want, and those type of a talent which we don't want, we don't really get into too much of a retention piece. So our retention mechanism, which primarily retention bonuses or shares allotment to the employees or salary increases or promotions, these are only primarily go for my critical top talent, or rather I would say a futuristic critical top talent. And that is how we generally try to retain them. We have a lot of platforms we basically provide to the employees from retention perspective. It is right from the education that we give in the premium schools and so on and so forth, and plus also the various reward and recognition program, right from giving them a exposure to the global geographies and so on and so forth. So we generally
I think we have lost Mahesh. Okay. Nidhi, do you have any inputs on that question? Do you want to share any inputs on that question?
Yeah, of course. So something which Madhu was talking about. Now, Mahesh was talking about. So now the same thing. I will add to it. Uh, See, when you are talking about the short term, long term, and looking at people, if you really need them, are the skills temporary? Are the skills long term? Do you have to add in more? How do you do that? You will have to really understand the business side of things, and this is more for NHR, right? If you are trying to design your organization's L&D, or you're trying to work with your people's career progression paths and everything, you have to understand first your business at all. And in that scenario, you have to understand, in the business that I am in, what is it that my business is going to see in the future? It cannot be just the near future. In the long run also, what is it that my business may need? So it is important. So for an example, with the profile that at least I am into, the business partnering, so for the business partners, it is very it's important for us to understand what is it that our business expects, what is it that the kind of business is coming. When you are planning your resources, when you're planning your people, when you're planning your L&Ds, when you're planning your retention, it is always great and good for the HRs to understand the business side of things first, so that you accordingly connect with business and you plan your strategies also accordingly. And so with that, you will be able to plan your resources, you will be able to plan your people properly. Hey, Mahesh.
Hey, hi. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, Mahesh, you're audible. And I think Nidhi also added her inputs to the question. So, yeah.
Oh, no, I think so. What she said is right. And that's the point I was saying, that you will have to have a long-term, short-term, and medium-term strategy. And on the basis of that only, you would be able to ultimately retain or also attract. And retain is something only for short-term, primarily. But I think so, ultimately, when you need somebody, say, for example, AI ML, which is now old example, but if you see any 5G new telecommunication technology that you are working on, you need a person today. Because if you don't have today, so you have no other choice but to buy. And even though if you reskill, upskill, it will take time, and person will not be able to really contribute to your business success. So ideally, that point in time, you need somebody who can come on board very, very fast. So that is how I think so as a HR, we need to plan those along with the business. And that is how we need to really plan as well, in my view.
Agree. Couldn't agree more to that, Mahesh. And thank you, Nidhi, for also stepping in. See, I think as organizations, the size of headcount doesn't define whether you're a successful organization. I think gone are those days, right? I think it's the size of the margins that's key. And to make sure that our margins are good, how do you reduce your recurring cost? Especially if it's high cost or niche resources, how do you make sure that you invest in the right way that doesn't impact your margins? How do you increase your efficiency? And how do you have measurable outcomes so that you know that you're investing in the right places, right? With that context, Anand, this question is to you. What would be some of the key metrics or indicators that organizations should track to measure effectiveness of the talent strategies during a down market? And how do these matrices or indicators help?
So thank you, Madhu. Few quick things which come to my mind when we talk about this particular subject. First, let us not, So again, I am somebody who is a strong believer of fundamentally, doing things right. Fundamentally, if you're right, that's why I use the word ask model. Somebody who has acquired the knowledge, developed the skills, but do not have the right attitude is not a good fit. Hence, the combination of ASK in the right essence is somebody who's a good candidate. Even if he's not good at his skill and knowledge, I am confident on my training plan, on my learning ability, that I should be able to bring that particular person to the next level, which I want to, from a upskilling perspective, because that's into our hand, subject he has the right attitude. So coming back to your question, let's not use the word of cost cutting. Typically, we have gone through, I'm sure Nidhi, Mahesh, Madhu, you all would agree, we get into this business conference meeting along with the who's who, the top notch of the organizations, and then we discuss on cost cutting. So the moment we say cost cutting is a wrong word. I always tell, let's get into a discussion on how to optimize the cost. How can we have a cost conscious project? For example, with two levels of skill set, depending on the qualification, if I am able to hire somebody on a lower budget with the same skill set and the same expectations from a competency and skills perspective, let's be cost conscious and hire. I'll just give you an example. Instead of hiring a graduate engineer trainee who goes through a 4 years of engineering, I'm okay to hire a 3-year BSc IT, because broadly I know what is the kind of work which I will be getting involved with these freshers. And if the work is being done by a BSc IT who comes immediately on board, because 3 years is what they do after their 12th, after their HSC, whereas in engineering they invest 4 years. So simple dynamics matrix where we can onboard a similar skill set or a similar competency at a lesser cost. Obviously that's going to enhance my profitability if these are billing resources, Madhu. Especially these resources who are being posted at the client location, definitely your margin increases. So somewhere if you want to spend a little more, please check what are the areas where we can be cost conscious and reduce the cost. That's how one matrix is, not to stop everything. Pick up the low hanging fruits which can be implemented immediately, and try to have a certain cost conscious measures on those parameters, and then subsequently reinvest that saving into something which is very, very critical. For example, one more common mistake which typically all of us do, and I don't want to quote anybody because almost every organization I have worked for, the moment there is a budget crunch or there is a crisis, the first thing which we do is we do not do any skilling or training programs, and we freeze the training budget or travel budget, saying that sorry, we need to cut the cost. Again, let me be honest, the word used is we need to do some cost cutting measures, so let's discontinue doing this. Yes, Madhu, you're
Yes,
saying
Anand. I think measuring the cost optimally is one metric.
one
If you were to
matrix.
just tell just these are the 2-3 metrics.
Yeah,
One is
one
measuring
of them,
cost.
One is measuring the cost. Second is measuring your employee engagement and measuring your current ENPS scores and the current feedback which we receive from within the organization. There is always this grapevine which will continue in every organization, irrespective big, small, medium size. So hearing the feedback, getting the pulse of your employees, what they are saying, do tells you a lot about the current mechanism. On that basis, maybe something from the attrition figures, engagement figures, retention figures, your figures with reference to your ASR. Now this is the time everybody is busy in their annual appraisal system based on the PMS. Please try to derive certain matrices from those numbers which tells you about the health of your organization, especially when we are moving on the downsize. The word I'm using downsize because if things are everything going in the right direction, trust me, we don't even talk about cost cutting. Hence I'm using the word cost consciousness, that even when you're doing and you are in the best of your growth, best of your PNL, still please adapt cost conscious methods within the organization, which will help you to save yourself in a down market like what currently many of the countries and many of the industries are going through the recession part. The third angle which comes to my mind is lot of inputs which we get as a part of our PMS cycle, which helps us to develop your IDPs and your MDPs as an individual development plan and managerial or management development plan, which are group dynamics. Please take care of these learning and upskilling opportunities and do not miss them. Typically what happens is every organization, again this is a wonderful matrix which can be built upon, increments and performance reviews are linked to each other. And most of the organization traditional way is, I'm sure Madhu and my Madhu yourself, Nidhi and Mahesh can add to this, we have this yearly appraisal mechanism, and that's the only standard performance review which happens with the employee. And with the current generation coming in, it is very, very important that we have regular performance review mechanism, and yearly is linked to your appraisal and your increments. So, I know many organizations who does performance reviews and they do it only once a year. This is something which is not a healthy practice, which I would suggest. So at least as a manager, my recommendation to all of us, including myself, is please thoroughly engage with your team and have regular interval based performance review mechanism, which may not convert into increments, but the combination of all this at the year end, at the quarter end, definitely gives you a larger picture rather than at the year end. I'll give my own example because I don't keep a track of what we have done, and I'm sure all of us would agree at the year end we struggle to mention what good things we have done in the entire year. So these internal matrices put together with reference to performance review, cost consciousness, performance management system inputs which we get basis on the different engagement, attrition, retention, performance management feedback. There are multiple things which can be built upon, which will give you some insights on how we can improve and we can sail through a tough time, because when times are good, these things definitely take a backseat and we never talk about it. Hence, I say cost conscious, not cost cutting. Thank you, Madhu.
Thanks a lot, Anand. Thanks a lot. I think Mahesh would have to leave a little early. So, Mahesh, I will shoot that last question on to you now. Yeah,
Okay,
I'll take
so
that
but
liberty.
I would like to add. I would like to add what Anand said. So
Sure, please go ahead.
before I jump into it, because I'll go little tactical. I know that, and since I'm working extremely closely with the business, so and what we do actually when this time comes, we see all possible metrics. I think so. My labor cost versus my sales. If my sales is dropping by around 20-25% month over month because of the slowdown. I was reading the same article what Madhu saying in the some time back, that Germany got into a recession. What is the impact on the countries? So 65% impact on US, European Union 60%, ASEAN 35%, and likewise we have given a lot of metrics. Now that's why where our job comes into the play. We cannot be like just people. I understand people, but then I need to share it out to the reality my life with companies. So ideally, we generally check the labor cost versus sales. We also check the productivity increase or decrease over the labor cost. That is something mandatory we check. On the top of it, we also see the time to fill only for the critical new needs. Okay, for example, suppose to sustain in this organization, if I'm coming up with a carbon capture technology and I want 10 people to sell that technology and run that technology, my time to fill should be less than 15 days for those particular groups. And I also see the exact measurement for my retention. If my retention is in the general areas around 15 17%, I don't bother too much. I don't push those measures to really restrict the attrition. But if it is in my need areas, then I personally get into that and try to stop that. So those are the minimum that we see in the downturn. And second important thing is we have very good best practice, I would say. We have a people leader index. So that means every manager has a 6 criteria to fulfill, and on that we have a tool to measure those criteria, where your internal conversion, attrition, succession, diversity, everything, like 6 key parameters of the HR. And every month we publish score for that individual. So you have to go back to your tool, see those scores, and while you come with your business numbers to present, you'll have to present the PLI scores as well. So we put the people as well as the business responsibility in one go to that individual along with this metrics. So ideally, these are the stuff that we do. So before, sorry, Madhu, I just want to add one more thing.
Okay, I think we lost Mahesh there. But I found a good, interesting theme there. The MDP, or how we evaluate people leaders. It's not just doing IDPs, right? We also want to put it back to managers, where leaders are also evaluated on what are the expectations, not just the individual contributors. So that was interesting. Apart from the run-of-the-mill HR matrices of attrition, performance, the cost of an entry level to the highest level, those inputs. But I think that was well said, well articulated, Anand and Mahesh. We have quite a few audience questions, but before we go there, I think, Mahesh, are you back? I'll give him a couple of seconds to respond because there were lags earlier. So, okay, I don't hear you, Mahesh. So, Nidhi, why don't you take this last question before we move to the audience questions, right? Looking ahead, what would you envision as the future of talent management in this rapidly changing market landscape?
See, one is the talent acquisition side. I'll talk first because we are talking about talent acquisition is not just talent acquisition now; it's talent retention also. Because as I said earlier as well, the future of talent management is now going to be how best you are utilizing your current talent. That's how it is going to be taken, and that's what I think. From so this happened like this. We had a COVID wherein the companies, starting, cutting off on their employee strength, and everything started happening. And then 2021 and 2022 were the years when there were people sitting with, multiple offers in hand, the opportunities, the demand was so high and the supply was less. Now we have got again into an era, and that was a disruption. Everybody was looking at it. Everybody was very, very sure that this bubble is going to get bust. That happened. Now we are in that era wherein there is less demand and the supply is super high. So with that, because we are today talking about how are we going to this within this the down market, how do we embrace this flexibility, adaptability? What is it that we are learning from this time? This is what we are learning from this time, that whatever talent that you have internally today, reskill them, upskill them, ensure that the employee base that you have, people that you have, are your people are ready to accept that change. And how that happens, and that's a top down approach always. As leaders in the organization, first you have to ensure that your leaders are ready for that change. Let it be coming from your clients, let it be coming from your business. If the business is going down, is the mental well-being or your wellness of your employees, your workforce, your leaders is there, it's stable, which again lies on us. And in HR we have to ensure that there are practices which are taken care and they are feeling right, so that they are ready to work into this tough times, and they are ready to take up that change and apply whatever best practices, whatever change to that change, whatever can be done can be done. So that is a top down approach. So this is what we are learning from this entire era. And specifically, when we are seeing the technology upgrade, the way it is happening, and the major disruption is actually happening there too, wherein if a Germany is seeing this time, or a Europe is seeing this time, this is literally impacting an Indian workforce, it's impacting an Indian market. And with that, we'll have to ensure that our people are so much. What's a chat gpt is something created by a human, right? And if you're a human who's creating a chat gpt, it is a human who can do further wonders with the chat gpt. For an example, for an HR itself, if it is a chat gpt, why do I, and to me, I think today only one of the delivery teams I was speaking to, and the person just said me, I was showing some stats and something, they said, why don't you work with my team, and they have some super AI work that they are doing with the clients, and you can also use it in your HR metrics and everything. Yeah, sure, we can use that into an HR metrics. And that's where it is for us, it is for the employees to learn the new ways of working, to adapt to the new ways of working, and to ensure that by the vision that an Indian, as Indians, and this is the vision of the Indian government also today, by 2030 we want to be a powerhouse of talent. So when we want to be a powerhouse of talent, it is important for us to ensure that our skilling, let it be an upskill, reskill, or the students who are coming out from colleges, they are well equipped with the skills, so that we become that nation who is a powerhouse of talent.
Thanks a lot, Nidhi. Anand, a couple of words from you on the same question, but
Sure.
we are out of time. We need to go to audience
Fine.
questions.
I'll not take more than a minute. So, to add on what Nidhi mentioned, we publish our customer satisfaction for. In fact, every organization, feels proud to say that this is what my customer testimonials are all about. This is what my customer feedback score looks like. I've seen very few organizations sharing the employee testimonials, what employees think about you as an organization. So this is one of the very important metrics which we need to focus upon. So we at Entity have a ENPS mechanism, which is the employee net promoter score. What employees think about you on the parameter of 1 to 10, we calculate the NPS. And when you have a positive NPS, that talks a lot about you as an organization. So this is definitely one of the matrices which can be introduced. And this is also, let's understand principally HR as a function. When it all started as a policing function. Attendance mechanism, leave record, time office. If you go back, it was always a policing function, and it still continues to be a policing function. Please don't misunderstand when I say policing. It's more from a well-being and to ensure that everything is safe, my people are happy. There are various matrices to it, but along with those matrices, we should also have a ENPS matrix which tells you about the health of your organization, and this also conveys that you are a transparent organization. This is the HR feedback. People have said this about you, and these are the scores which are not driven by me. These are the scores which you as an employee has given to me as a HR function. So this definitely, this practice which we are doing has opened up a lot of transparency and openness in the organization, which is working well for all of us. Thanks, Madhu. Thanks, Nidhi. You're on mute, Madhu.
Thank you, Anand. Thanks a lot. I would like to thank Mahesh for his time, taking time out and spending some time with us and sharing his inputs, his experiences both personally and professionally. We'll move to the audience questions. Quite a few interesting questions. We'll see how much we are able to take in the next 2 minutes. The request is, let's see if we can give answers in a few seconds. Yeah, just like that 10-second answers. Yeah. The first question, Nidhi, how do we see the impact of AI in the long run on businesses, especially during the current times of cost optimization? Quick 10-second answer.
Okay. The impact is going to be, yes, there is going to be a huge impact, but then that also means there is going to be a big time need for experts, big time need for talent who can work on AI, which means you have the opportunity to upskill yourself. And if you are up there and up and ready with the niche skills, for yourself, I think there is opportunities are all around you.
Thank you. Thank you. We have to go with the wave. We can't go against it. That's what you're saying, right? We need to
Obviously,
go
yeah,
and take it to our advantage.
learn it.
Yeah, wonderfully said. Wonderfully said, Nidhi. Second audience question. That I like this question, and Anand, this is to you. How about adding a 20% weightage on upskilling in our annual performance evaluation for all employees?
So great question, and I am somebody who has done this in past in one of my organization as a part of your quarterly variable pay. 10% of the weightage is assigned to the number of training hours which are required to be fulfilled not by designation but by role. So as a role of a customer service executive, if I am supposed to meet these 50 criteria, or sorry, 5 criteria as a part of my KRA, which gives me a score of 90, 10% is the balance score, which is for the number of hours you have invested in your learning. And there are multiple options to learn. Those days are gone where we were stick to classroom learnings, a blend of all self-learning, outside learning, getting enrolled to external course. And once this is done, your variable pay is given to you quarterly. So you have 10% complete, you can score entire 10 on 10 on those parameters. So we have done that in past, and it's a beautiful concept we should do.
I like that Anand didn't tell that if you don't do it, you don't get your variable pay. He said that if you do that, you get your variable pay. Thanks a lot, Anand. Mahesh, are you here with us? Are you still with us?
I'm listening to all of you.
Okay.
And I just wanted to add what people said. So I would like to be a little devil's advocate here on this training piece, because there are two things. One, that we have lot of, now everywhere it's a digital platform. Okay. There was a days when we used to have upskilling on the face-to-face learning. I would still say that is a 50-60% effective, because people used to see that upfront. I have seen number of times, and we have done those kind of business conduct investigations where people keep their trainings on and they are not in front of the computer. So we also need to be little cognizant that how we really wanted to have this entire piece. We need to be selective here, because rather than upskilling, reskilling, like whole lot of organization, we can think of key people, and for them this needs to be done where they will going to make a big difference to your bottom line, top line, or
Mahesh,
from that matter even. Hello?
Yeah, just hold your thought there. There's a question related to what you're saying, right? I'll read out the question and then I would allow you to complete your response. Is that fine, Mahesh?
Yes, completely okay.
Yeah. So during this downtime, organizations want to cut resources, cut spending, and then we try to upskill the individual. What are the key measures organizations can take to optimize the cost involved in upskilling an employee? Back to you, Mahesh.
Okay. Yes. So basically every big organization, and thanks for this question, because every big organization is having R&D spend budgets kept separately. And for us, R&D budgets basically work in 2-3 fashions. Budget number one primarily works on the IP and related new patents that we basically enter into. So that is one budget. Second budget is primarily for the training, where for the new technologies, how many people we need and how many we will going to home grow over the period of time. And that what I was saying when we are talking about the talent management and the talent acquisition, that our long-term plan carries all these parameters. So if I say my long-term plan become an AI/ML champion in the B2B business, then I will run my business like that I'll develop people for AI/ML, also for adaptive machine learning and adaptive artificial intelligence, which is the new areas that now we are getting into. Old AI and ML is gone now. and adaptive new word has been started coming into it, like a adaptive cruise control or something like that that you see in the cars. So that's how we plan our budgets. That's how we plan our reskilling and upskilling areas that we focus on, including the budgets for and that is how we measure as well.
Thanks a lot. I think well said. Focus on what the business wants and upskill based on what the business wants. Then that's the investment. That's how you should. That's not a cost. That's an investment. That's how you look at it. So thanks a
And
lot.
one more point, Madhu, I think so. There is a time like last year was the employees market when the everybody been asked to go in the 2020 pent up demand in 2021 pushed lot of employees to go here and there, and lot of demand were available. So there is very little save from the employers last year. But this year again, you will see the shift to the employer market because of the downturn. A lot of people will lose their job, and I think so there would be less jobs available. So this is a cyclical process, and employees has to be really adopt to this process rather than only employer. And if we keep thinking that my company will do this and that for me every time, I think so we are in a wrong notion that we are staying. We need to be self-sustained as far as our learning, education, skilling, upskilling is concerned. And I would go up to the extent, invest in yourself. And those who are asking this question, spend a couple of lakhs from your pocket, get learned, certified outside. Don't wait, your organization will invest every time for you. It will not really pay you for a long run.
Can I add in here one last point, Madhu? I know, I mean, it's we have to do a time check also. This is, I mean, and this is what we have also been doing, and I think this works all around the year. Forget it is a down market or no, but then your internal knowledge sharing is something which really works all time. If this is, it's about, as Anand said, cutting down on your learning and development budgets. Yes, I mean, that may be a practical thing for an organization to do. Yes, I will go ahead and maybe I will try to be minimal in terms of my learning and development. I might want to do that, but then at the same time, the internal talent that I have, the experts that I have, am I utilizing them for the internal knowledge sharing? Right, wherein if you are an expert into something, you please develop certain platforms within your organizations wherein your internal knowledge sharing sessions can happen. People, for you yourself, if you are an expert into something and you're a part of an organization wherein your organization is seeing some such time, please step up, help your organization to get your talent upskill. That's a big time thing to do, and I think this, when you start doing now, you are going to see the fruits of it in terms of engagements, in terms of retention, in terms of your own as a leader, as a subject matter expert, the kind of recognition, the kind of appreciation, the kind of highlight and everything respect that you get in from the organization itself. And for an organization also, it's kind of a win-win situation, right? You are actually using your talent to upskill your talent, so that also works.
Agree. Wonderfully said, Nidhi. Anand, a few final words from you.
So definitely, we have, so in continuation to what Nidhi mentioned, we have a L&D ambassador program. So L&D is not only a job of L&D and not a job of a manager. Your entire organization is your L&D. एक वो कहावत है, I'm very big fan of Bollywood, and I'm very much use examples of Three Idiots. ज्ञान बट रहा है, हर जगह बट रहा है, जितना लपेट सकते हो लपेट लो. While people talk about cutting off the budget, I always promote self-learning, because we have so many subject matter experts within the organization. We just have to look around, and trust me, the quality and the level of programs which they deliver at times are far better than what an external consultant or a partner comes and deliver. But again, a Hindi kahavat, ghar ki murgi dal barabar. While we all must be certified trainer, but people do not take us very seriously. And that's exactly what I refer from a cost consciousness perspective. If this particular topic can be delivered in-house, we have an in-house lab setup because we are a great IT technology organization. Why to spend money on an external lab? Because, these experts who are within the organization can help us with that. So even if we can save a lab setup cost, Madhu and Nidhi, I will be able to save 20 to 25% of my training budget. And these are those certain smart moves and smart matrices which will help you to change the transition from cost cutting to cost consciousness. Thank you. These were a few thoughts which came to my mind.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Anand and Nidhi and Mahesh in absentia. I think great session. We had a lot to cover and a lot of interesting questions had also come up. So I wanted to share our inputs on them. I remember one of us saying that sometimes we are slower than the speed the business wants us to move in. I have a different view to that. I think HR is faster than business. We come up with things faster. We predict things faster. However, are we moving the same direction is the only thing that we need to be aligned with. And that's most critical, right? Once we align
that is what agility is all about, Madhu.
Yes. Once we are aligned, I think then we are all going in the right direction towards the same goal and reaching there. On that note, Priyanka, can I hand this back to you? Thanks a lot.
Okay. Thank you so much, Madhu, for moderating the session in such a wonderful way. I'm sure everyone has enjoyed it thoroughly. Next up, I would like to thank all the panelists for sharing their insights with us. And while I was at backstage, the audience were totally amazing, and the session was really amazing and engaging too. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining today. Thank you, Nidhi. Thank you, Mahesh.
Great.
Oh, Mahesh
Great.
is not here. Okay. Thank you, Anand. Thank you, Madhu.
Thank you.
Thank
We are
you.
glad that
Thanks,
audience
Madhu.
liked it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, Madhu.